In the past, we've given some long webinars about the entire release process, but I've realized that's a lot of information to take in. So today I want to talk about planting, and part of the release process, whether you're doing it with a drill or by hand, is planting green. Many years ago, from observing nature and natural cycles and studying some of the most progressive farmers in North America, not those with the bigger tractors, but those that had the healthiest soil and were making the most profit, that anyone that plants, food plotters, professional farmers, should strive to mimic nature. That's basically what the release process is. We're following the seasons and processes that occurred on the Great Prairie, some of the finest soils ever known to man. So you see Will on the case, and he's doing what's called planting green. He's using a Genesis drill, and he's going right through a very tall standing crop. Think about seeds on the Great Prairie. They would get mature and fall down either at that time or maybe the season before through that thick duff. There'd be many, many, many of them, millions per acre. And enough of them would come in contact with the soil, maybe a buffalo stepped on it or whatever, and the next quote-unquote crop or cycle of native vegetation would start. We can't replicate that perfectly because a big old cereal ride head or crimson clover head is going to make way more viable seeds than is needed to plant, the 6 inches around where it would fall. That would be too much. So we need to terminate this and plant the other crop. But traditionally, we've plowed everything up. We've totally broke that natural cycle. And the whole key to improving soil's health is making sure there's an abundant, healthy population of microbes and even insects in the soil. Many people, including myself, call that the underground herd. And to feed that underground herd, it's not just living or dead vegetation on top. You need living roots in the soil because they leak out carbon. And the microbes take that carbon because they need it. They're not photosynthesizing. And they trade to plants critical elements like phosphorus, potassium, even nitrogen, trace elements like sulfur and boron, molybdenum, to have healthy soil and to make gains in your soil process. It's really important to have a living root in the soil at all times. And obviously, if you disc, you've broken that cycle. So the first major step to the release process is planting green, either with a no-till drill like the Genesis we're using or broadcasting seed. A seed drill is designed to cut through all the standing vegetation and duff on the ground from past crops and place the seed at the perfect depth. And if you're broadcasting seed, you need to use about twice the recommended rate for drilling. A real important part of the release process is always planting blends, multiple species at one time. You want something in many families. I like to plant 8, 9, 10 different species at a time. Some of those will have very small size seeds like the clovers or brassicas. Some are larger like a cereal rye seed. So people always ask me, how do you get the planting depth right? And what I found is if you're planting at a pretty high rate, those large seeds, when they germinate and they stick their stem up through the soil to kind of bust it open, and the small seeds will follow up. But I don't plant too deep. I usually try to plant the seed depth of 1 inch to a 1/2 inch deep, depending on my soil moisture and what I'm planting, not 2 or 3 inches deep. If you're planting a monoculture of only corn, big old seed with a lot of energy in it, you can get away with planting it deeper. And once you get your soil really healthy like ours is, it's not gonna crust over because it's alive and active. And you can plant and get away with a lot. Too deep, a little, not quite deep enough, it'll work out because once you get healthy soil, it's amazing how forgiving it is. Always plant a blend, get it about 1 inch deep, just get it covered with the soil. Remember, all this mulch on top is gonna hold moisture, keep the sun from baking out that soil. It's very forgiving.
Growing Deer is brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Also by Green Cover Food Plots, Winchester, Lacrosse Footwear, Moultrie Mobile, Fleet Outdoor Apparel, Morel Targets, RTP Outdoors, Fourth Arrow, Hunt Stand, Scorpion Venom Archery, Case IH Tractors, Ward Laboratories, Burris Optics, National Land Realty, G5 Broadheads, Prime Bows, and Redneck Hunting Blinds.
So we're planting through this big tall crop that we planted last August. We're planting through this right when these seed heads are almost mature. These seal rye seed heads have some moisture in them. The crimson clover seed heads have shed all those beautiful crimson color flowers, and if I break an individual flower open now or look at it, I can see a little green seed in there. So at that time, that's called the dough stage. The seeds aren't hard and viable yet, they're full of moisture. That's the dough stage. We drill right through there, and either now or a week or so later, we come across this with a crimper. And next time, we'll share about how we terminate these crops without the use of herbicide. But we're planting green. This is called planting green. Planting into a green living crop. There's no chance of erosion. Look at how thick that is. And for testimony, just a week and a half ago or so, we had 5 inches of rain, and then we've had a ½ inch since then. Table Rock Lake Dam. Table Rock's a 50,000 or 48,000, something like that, surface acre lake, huge body of water. I think there are 10 floodgates on the dam, which is very large, and my wife Tracy just took my father-in-law Ted down there to look because I think they had 8 of the floodgates open. They're trying really hard to get all that water that went through the creeks but also ran off the land into the lake and keep that lake from becoming too high, especially right before Memorial Day. But here, there's no erosion. The guys and gals that use very similar processes to make a high profit on their farms while improving the soil call those practices regenerative ag. We could call this regenerative ag, but we do it a bit different because our harvester isn't a combine, it's a deer or a turkey or pheasant or whatever you're farming food plots for, hopefully multiple species. So our timing's a bit different and our goals are a bit different. And I call it the release process because, as I've learned, we're simply releasing creation's potential. We're farming in a way that allows the soil to behave as it was created to behave. And it wasn't created to have synthetic inputs or require a bunch of herbicides, synthetic fertilizer, this fungicide, that insecticide. None of that is necessary, and as testimony, none has been applied to this plot. It's almost Memorial Day, and for many people, Memorial Day marks the official start of summer. But I hope you do more on Memorial Day and the days leading up to Memorial Day than just make plans for a long weekend and going to the lake or planting some food plots. Memorial Day is when we as a nation should mourn and celebrate the lives of many, many men and women that sacrificed to keep America free and to free other nations. I gotta tell you, in this day and age of all these different cultures and this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, that is not applying to Grant Woods and the Woods family. I am thankful for the men and women that made that sacrifice. And I'll go in further, I'm super thankful for the men and women that are keeping our nation safe today. For those families that are bearing the burden of a lost loved one that fought in our military, thank you. Thank you so much. We can never repay your loss, but we can support you now. I hope each of you reach out to someone that needs a hand this Memorial Day. The Creator gave us a super productive planet. To kind of put that in scale, historians believe there were 60 million bison just on the Great Plains, not counting all the woodland bison from here to the coast. Tremendous amount. Bison are about twice as large as the average cow today. So that's 120 million cattle. But those bison, they didn't have anybody given insecticide, fungicide, any of those things. And there was no synthetic fertilizer. That's how productive our planet can be. Your food plots can be productive if you learn and apply the Creator's plan to the soil where you hunt. More important than understanding food plots is to seek the Creator's will for your life. And I ask you to be intentional about that, seeking God's will, and apply it to your choices daily. Thank you for watching Growing Deer.